Last week, we spent all week doing everything we could to allow us to get some cows in. And this week, we might just be trying our hardest to see how quickly we can get them back out again. So I've just brought the in-calf heifers in and stuck them in this top yard here. I think they look really well, actually, to be honest. I'm going to climb on the wall so you can have a look. I think they look pretty good. They're in cracking condition. They're all in calf. They're doing really well, but it was just getting a bit muddy where they were. They're on a bit of herbal lay, and it weren't going to do them any good to keep them out. We've kind of shut up the grazing platform now because we've got hay that we were feeding out, but we want to also keep some grass for the spring because we didn't have a huge amount of grass growth. We've had a decent autumn from a grass growth point of view, so we've got a nice little bite there ready to turn out in the spring. But if we eat it now, we won't have anything turn out in the spring. So it's a hard one because if we bring them in, we've got to then feed them. Just give these guys a bale of hay, but they've ate most of it straight away. But the cows are currently in. We brought these in at the end of the week. However, they're not going to stop in for long. This is all the stabiliser cows, bar the in-calf heifers, and there's a 12 or so that are up the village that are grazing that I showed you last week. These are all in at the minute, but they're not going to be here for long. So we've pulled them in off the grazing, saved the rest of the grass. They're having some straw, 2 bales of straw. So they'll have straw this morning, straw tomorrow, hay the day after, and repeat until they go back out. Because they're in really good body condition, they're all like body condition score sort of 3.5 as average. But we've done a bit of a little deal with our neighbours, which I'm kind of grateful for. It's going to really save our bacon this year. They have grown about 200 acres of cover crops on their arable farm. So some of it's going to go into a legume fallow in the spring. Some of it's going into spring barley, I believe. And they're all kind of knee height. They look pretty good. You can see the cows there. Look, they're in good nick. They've got a nice bit of flesh across the back. They're good. I'm happy with them. So those cover crops that they've got, some of it we can graze straight away because it's not in any sort of scheme. Some of it's in an SFI scheme, so it can't be grazed until I think it's after mid-January, something like that. So we've got to just play our cards right here and graze the right ones. But if we put the cows out on it, I think we can mitigate using any winter feed, apart from maybe a bit of straw as roughage, till probably well into February when we'll bring them in to PD them. No, TB test them. And then they might then stay in for calving and go straight out to grass. So just massively going to cut that feed bill. It's going to be an absolute godsend. So we're going to graze them on a per head per week basis, which makes it pretty fair then, because if you've got some thicker crops or some thinner crops, you can, you know, the ones that are thick, they're on for longer. The ones that are thin, they're on for less time. Makes it fair. So by the end of the week or maybe into next week, we'll have the chance to perhaps get those guys out onto those covers, and that's really going to make a big difference for us. But we just need a few days just to sort ourselves out and get them primed and ready. But I have got another job at hand because we need to finish that wall that Dad's building. This is the trough at the top of the yard. So you remember a couple of years ago we took the cantilever off because there was an extra bit bolted on the stanchions that come over the trough, but we couldn't then shred with the shredder in, and we struggled to feed along here as well because it just filled the gutter in all the time with straw and silage. So we took that cantilever off, which made it easier for us to feed, but it's actually brilliant for feeding with the feeder wagon. But there was this wall that was on the inside, because when we used to put cows in here years ago and we used to feed with a forage wagon, you know, the forage boxes, we'd feed with a forage and then the cows would just flick it out. So they'd flick the stuff right out here onto the gravel and it'd make the place a right mess. But now these young stock don't tend to do it, especially with the TMR, because it's all the same. So we've took this down because it had fell down, but I'm going to clean all these blocks up, stack them up there, and then we can use them down the bottom where Dad is, you know, doing his wall. Well, that's them cleaned up, stacked up. I think Dad needs about 20 to finish his wall. I'm going to go put some batteries on charge. Just heading down the yard, although I'm reversing. I will be heading forward down the yard to just fill in some of these blocks that Dad's been building. When I fill them, put the rebar in and get it all prepped up so that it can put some more blocks on the top so that it's got plenty of time to set. I'm hoping we don't need this yard for a little while. Right, so you can see they're all filled now. So there's rebar down, runs down sort of 3 blocks or 4 blocks down into the bottom there, and then they've all been filled up. So there's pretty much a solid wall we've got now. Dad's got to put the top blocks on them, which is what we cleaned earlier. That's just going to sort that wall out. That means that this yard then will be ready, but hopefully with the cows going back out, we won't need to put anything in here till calving. The cows at Thornton, there's 30 odd of them. They're all right. They've got hay over there at the minute. Bale and rolling hay for them. They should be fine till at least Christmas, I'd like to think, as long as nothing major happens over there. And with these guys then going out, that should really properly cut the workload. Should be quite nice, hopefully, as long as they don't make a mess and they don't get out. Yeah, we've got to try, ain't you? We've got to bed up and feed up tonight because we've got a morning meeting tomorrow, breakfast meeting, full English with the solicitors, talking about all the goings on and whatever else is happening with inheritance tax, because we've got a few ideas, like things we could do to get around it. Obviously you've got like insurances, something like a family investment company if you've got enough assets, but we want to just hear it from the horse's mouth as to what's the best option for us. But we've got to be at Morton in the Marsh for 8 a.m, which means we've got to leave here about 6. But another reason why I fancy going is because it's sponsored by Oxbury Bank. Now I've been thinking that maybe we need to have a change of bank, and Oxbury are going to be at this meeting, so we're going to have a word with them and see what they think, see whether that's a worthwhile thing. I'd be interested if you bank with Oxbury or anyone and you think they're good, let us know. I'll tell you what I'll do though, I'll take a heap of extensive notes tomorrow when we're at this meeting, and I'll relay it to anyone. So if you've not spoken to your solicitors, you can kind of have a bit of an idea of what some of your options perhaps are. Also, whilst we're on the subject of inheritance tax, if you've not listened to the podcast with Victoria Atkins, if I can link to Spotify or whatever, I'll do it up here. If I can't, I'll be able to hopefully link the MBA YouTube channel, which has got the video version on, so you can watch it or listen to it on that. Stakeholders, S-T-E-A-K, as in like steak. Stakeholders podcast on Spotify, YouTube, and all the streaming platforms. An MBA channel for the YouTube. We haven't got a Stakeholders YouTube yet. Also, whilst I'm on the point of the podcast, Victoria mentioned that there's a new thing with councils where they can actually seize your land for below market value. It's a new thing that's kind of been brought in, but it's gone under the radar because of the whole IHT thing. Well worth listening. Scary, like communist scary. Right, that's everything fed round. If there is anything tomorrow that I can share that I think is worthwhile, whether it's for people at our scale, bigger, smaller, whatever, if I think it's worthwhile you knowing, I will let you know. Till then, see you tomorrow. And we are back from the meeting. A few things on inheritance tax before I actually start putting some kit away. Number one, there is a thing called a 7-year holdover. When you pass something down to the next generation, you have to live 7 years before you get any inheritance tax, full inheritance tax relief. And if you die in the meantime, there's a tapering off. So if you die straight away after handing it down, you pay full inheritance tax and it periodically goes down. There used to be ways and means around not having to pay that. Obviously there was APR and BPR, but there's also other things that you could do. They have pretty much all been closed, but one thing you need to remember is that there is talk about them actually extending it from 7 years to 10 years, which would just make it worse, so the sooner you do something, the better. Next thing, the most important thing you can do right now is succession plan. It doesn't matter how far through you are, what you think you need to do, you need to start, and you need to start soon. There is also no best option. There is lots of options available to you, but there is not one that is better than all the others. It just depends on your situation. You've got the normal, just hand it down, hope you live your 7 years and carry on as normal. That is an option for you. If you want to be more tax efficient, there is things that you can do, but it's not really going to mitigate your whole 7-year thing, and it's not going to stop you getting hit by inheritance tax. Family investment companies, they are okay, but if they're not managed well, then they are really bad news. Trusts, everyone loves a trust. One thing I found out today is a badly managed trust, putting stuff in a trust for the sake of putting it in a trust to hope get away with some taxes is a really bad idea. You want a good trust, and a good trust is brilliant, but you need to run a trust like a very well-run business. You need to have fantastic trustees that really care about the business, that care about you and what you're doing. If you've not got that, don't do it, bad idea. You need a good bank, a good solicitor and a good farm advisor, and you need them to work well together, because if they don't, then this is going to be bloody hard work. But if you get some good ones that are going to work with you, then you can make this pretty simple and it's not going to be as painful as you think it's going to be. There are multiple things you can do, like insurances of the person who is either handing it down or the person who is having it handed to them, that will help cover any of the potential costs of inheritance tax should you end up having to pay it. They are expensive, not as expensive as inheritance tax, and it does cover you. So if it is a problem, you can kind of work it into your cash flow. It's probably going to be maybe 20%, 15, 18, 20% of your actual tax bill. So yes, still expensive when you might have a tax bill of £1 million, but less than £1 million. And the harsh reality is, there's going to be a lot of people make a lot of money out of this. Not one of them is going to be a farmer, and not one of them really needs it. And the chances of it happening now are increasingly higher, because there was the finance bill that was passed last night, which was one of the last places to be able to actually challenge the inheritance tax bill. It was voted through 327 to 182, which means there was quite a lot of Labour MPs that abstained or voted against it, which does send a message, true, which might give some future amendments to the policy, but it's not going to stop it. It's going to happen. So the best thing we can do now is, as much as we might want to fight it, we need to start and think about how we're going to work around it, how we're going to actually progress with this, because we're going to have to live with it. The chances are there's not going to be much change. There's not going to be much of a bone thrown. There's a lot of people who think that that spousal allowance that last week was a bit of a bone throw. It wasn't. It was a technical amendment that should have been in there in the first place, but they've used it as throwing a bone. It was more of a pig's ear, but yeah. It's one of them. We're going to have to just deal with it. Hopefully that was a decent roundup. Anyway, back to some farming. I need to put these two things on top of the trailer. So I've got to move that trailer out and then lift this on top, wheel it to the back of the bale trailers, then lift that on the top at the front, then put the beef bus in next to it. I did wash the beef bus last week. And if you are wondering why all this stuff is outside of the workshop, it's because we have had punctures galore. And we even have another puncture we haven't dealt with yet, not just the one that's on the water trailer that I showed you last week, but also one on one of the muck trailers. Also, this mirror is proper wobbly, and the vibrations from the telehandler make it move, and then I can't see the hitch when I come to back up for stuff. Can I tighten it up? Because I can tighten it onto there, stop it twisting, but can I actually tighten the mirror in that ball joint? I kind of feel like I need to pop this out, maybe I can tighten it up, because it's proper doing my head in. Every time I get in to pick up a trailer or move something, I can't see what I'm doing. Okay, not gonna lie, this one's gonna be a bit of a challenge because I haven't got enough boom to get that out over the top as far as I need it. Ugh, so I'm gonna have to just wrestle it, I think. Oh, getting somewhere. You just stay there a minute. Come on. Ooh. Slide. This is precarious getting in it, but don't worry, it is still fastened on that end before I get all the health and safety people after me. And I'm fair strong, you see, I can like pick it up. Can we just say as well, flat 8 sledge, whoever invented this, absolute genius. Because the bale comes out there, if you don't know, comes down there and it like slots down there, trips that one there, slots down that side. Next bale comes and goes this side, re-trips that, fires another bale down there, which then holds that gate open, trips this gate, so another one comes down here. Then it continuously just trips this one backwards and forwards till it fills those two, and once those two are full, it trips that one, then trips that one, which opens the gate, and they all come out the back. Can you imagine if that was built in 2025? Everything would have electric motors, everything would have like cogs and bits of bloody electric controls in the cab and God knows what else. It would be a nightmare. But look, they did it all mechanically, and it's brilliant. It's absolute genius. Someone put a lot of thought into that. They really did. It's fantastic. That's a Browns one. You can get all sorts, but that's an old Browns one. And I love it. It's fantastic when you get it out. We only get it out probably once every 5 years or something like that, but it's just great. Okay, well, I need to back the beef bus into that gap there, which should be fine, but I can't see the back of the beef bus, and Dad's not here, so I'm on my own, so I'm gonna have to stick you somewhere, and you're gonna have to watch me. Just shout if I look like I'm gonna hit something. There we go, successfully tucked away for the winter. Well, no, not for the winter, until we want to bring them cattle back from up the village. But she's there, out of the way, nicely does it. Going to take my tractor now, nip round to get the topper, because I put the topper away the other day. I forgot to wash it. I'm in trouble. So I'm going to go get the topper, clean it off, go put it back, and then the hedge cutter is going on. Oh! Although the turn foot is in the way, I need to take the turn foot out, blast a drain with it so I can empty it for the winter, and then put the hedge cutter on, which was supposed to go on the day that Florence went into hospital, which will be 4 weeks tomorrow. Which means that after 4 weeks, we're finally actually getting ourselves caught back up again. I always keep this thing full of water all year, just in case you need it, like for a fire or wash something out, or you want to go toe and foot some grass somewhere. But because we're coming into the winter and it's going away for the winter, I'm going to drain it down. I was going to just dump the water out of it, but I've got this drain just here along the gangway. There's a drain top and the pipe goes along there and links into another pipe, but the pipe kind of sits a little bit of silt. We cleaned the sump out last week, but it's still kind of full. So I'm going to just chuck the pipe down it with the volume wash on and see if we can shift it. I haven't got a clue whether this is working or not, but I'll tell you what, she's got some power. Look, watch this. Whoa, look at that! Yeah, boy! She takes a bit of holding on to. Right, I don't know if that's going to do anything. It seems to be running back. It's better on a clear day when it's not full of water, but it's winter, it's always full of water. We'll see.
It always amazes me how far a bad week can step you back. And if I'm honest, the last few weeks would have been crazy enough without all the setbacks. And with Christmas just around the corner, we're finally starting to feel like we're getting on top of things. And if nothing else, that is very welcome. Until next time, Body's Farm, over and out.